versus like, Friday the 13th or Sleepaway Camp. Like the counselors are always bullies themselves essentially to the kids. So I thought that this movie was a little bit more like kind spirited, which I liked. And so it made you root for the characters.
If you stay up too late, or if you leave your cabin past curfew, you just might see the doctor.
What is up, Drive-By Movies here, and you're watching
Fresh Releases.
My name is James.
My name is Blaise.
And today we're checking out the new horror film, Marshmallow.
He's real!
When a once fabled campfire tale becomes real, a group of campers uncover a profound secret that questions their very existence. So Marshmallow is a video-on-demand film, or it was released, I guess, on video-on-demand. It was originally completed in 2023, but it's taken this long for probably post-production and marketing to get it out there. It got launched on April of 2025. James, what'd you think of Marshmallow?
Yeah, I mean, I love this genre of just summer camp horror films, and this movie captures the vibe of like a lot of cool movies. I forget the name of the director of It Follows and The Myth of the American Sleepover. Do you remember the name of that guy, Blaise?
It's three names. I think they're all
Yes.
first names, if I remember correctly. David Robert Mitchell.
David Robert Mitchell, right? I was like, is it Jordan Vogt Roberts? But I think that's the guy who did Kings of Summer or something, and
Yeah,
the
I
King
think
Kong
you're right.
movie. But yeah, this movie kind of reminded me of like the vibe of those kind of movies. It takes itself seriously working with kid actors. Some of the kid actors are way better acting than others within this movie, but it's still like effective enough and captures just that like feeling we have, but still takes place in a modern setting. But just, that first time your parents drop you off at like your grandparents' house for the summer or a summer camp. I didn't do summer camp stuff, but I would be dropped off at like daycares or something, or left at my grandparents with cousins I didn't know, as well as like other cousins and stuff. And this movie captures that very well, but not so much the horror elements, I guess I could say. Blaise, what are your thoughts coming out of Marshmallow?
Yeah, this was a movie that I'd heard kind of got hyped. I guess I got sucked into the hype on TikTok and expected a little bit more out of this movie. It is, a lower budget, but it never feels like too cheap, But it's that summer camp movie. It's a lot of kid actors. But it does something that I really don't like when movies do, where it has just a fat expo dump in the last 15 minutes that kind of catches you up on the world of the movie instead of giving you hints going into it. It has some interesting kind of creepy scenes, like almost dream sequences in a way in the beginning, but they never allude to what the final info dump is, and they're kind of almost feel unrelated in a way. But yeah, I just felt like this is one of those movies where it's all about the twist in the movie and less about the journey that gets you to that twist.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Like, just because I was like, really, we're having an exposition dump, and literally like your job is to do this. I'm like, oh, convenient. You just have to explain their job when they know what their job is. So yeah, that part cracked me up. The only time they ever allude to there's something weird going on is just like, we'll work on CJ. Like, after this poor kid, Morgan, gets bullied by CJ like crazy and almost dies. Like, he's comforted by the overall main camp counselor. And then he's just like, don't worry about CJ. We'll work on him. Like, that's the only time it ever alludes that there's something like weird going on. But I did like that this movie makes all the counselors overall relatively nice and pretty normal and stuff. Like, they're all anti-bully and stuff. Two of them are like a little bit dumber, like the ones that like sleep with each other and you're waiting for the killer to kill them. But this isn't that kind of movie essentially. But I just liked seeing that all these bullied kids have these supporters of these counselors that are higher up, and they're there to actually help them, and they're actually genuinely nice to the kids versus like Friday the 13th or Sleepaway Camp. Like, the counselors are always bullies themselves essentially to the kids. So I thought that this movie was a little bit more like kind spirited, which I liked, and so it made you root for the characters. But just, yeah, I really wanted something, like, I was enjoying the idea of like a slasher coming in, and I did enjoy that this movie tried to incorporate sci-fi elements into it, but waited too long. And just like you said, just why does it have to come in as an exposition dump though? It doesn't really feel like a twist, unfortunately, because of that.
Yeah, I just feel like, when has an expo dump ever been cool or interesting, especially for a visual medium? Like, film is such a visual medium. There's better ways to tell a story than just a character dropping all that info on you. And it's usually not filmed in an interesting way by any means, you know? So I feel like it fell on that front. It feels like it would be a good Twilight Zone episode, or like a short film, or like, like an episode of TV, but not a full feature film. You know, this is about 90 minutes, and it just feels like it's going for so long for the payoff to not actually end up paying off. And it did have some impressive stuff. Like you mentioned, the kids in the film, some aren't that great at actors and honestly kind of take you out of it. But the other ones that are good, you know, it's impressive for this director to kind of harness that talent, especially on a lower budget. But yeah, I feel like when it comes to Marshmallow, like, this film didn't really work for me, specifically just the way it was constructed in just the script phase. You know, it's all about that kind of twist and the payoff, and that payoff really wasn't there.
Yeah, which is unfortunate, because I really like the cast within this movie. It's a lot of, like, you know, recognizable faces, like the main girl counselor. I recognize her from the show Ted, which I hate those movies, but I actually did enjoy that show. And then, you know, we got the guy from the Broken Lizard movies. You know, like I said, a lot of the kid actors are actually pretty good within this movie, but just, you know, some were better than others, though. But yeah, this movie has all the right pieces, I think. I think just like with some better writing, like, it could have been a lot better. I can see why this probably got good reviews by some of the horror talk people. Like, you know, if they're not into watching like camp counselor movies, then this one seems like probably like a godsend, because if you've only seen the first Friday the 13th, then, like, yeah, this is going to seem like 1,000 times better, I guess. But, you know, as someone who's seen all the Friday the 13th movies, both you and I, and all the Sleepaway Camp movies, you know, this is an interesting take on that genre. But it's not like really a return to form. And I really want to see these movies come back, because we also got Ben Wolfhard's Hell of a Summer earlier. That was a more comedic movie. Like, I really want more of these camp slasher style movies, but just none of them are just getting it right, unfortunately. And hopefully someone comes along to save the genre.
Does it feel like we've almost gotten too many nostalgia core type movies where they never feel like the actual thing, and they just kind of have this sheen on it? I don't know if it's necessarily like a film versus digital conversation, but it feels like they never feel like the actual original thing, but they're trying too hard to almost be that like 80s style camp movie, or, you know, just put it in whatever genre you want. But we get a lot of nostalgia type movies that never kind of scratch that itch. And I'd rather just watch one of the like hidden, you know, movies that I haven't seen that's actually probably horrible, but will still scratch that nostalgic itch because it's from that time.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Like, you know, some stuff has gotten it right. Like, I still think the first season of Stranger Things got it right, but just went too crazy. Like, oh, 80s, we got to go more 80s and stuff. Whereas this movie doesn't do that. Like, you know, I think the only movie that's done it like relatively super well was like Summer of '84, with not trying to push too hard on just like, look at all these references in the bedroom and stuff. Like, it wasn't like that. Like, I thought it captured just like, you know, the summer feel of just playing late at night with your friends every night during the summer until you have to go back to school. Whereas this movie, like, you know, like I said, I've never been at a camp other than sixth grade camp. So I don't know what a full month of summer was like going to a place like this. But, you know, with it, they make the like cheesy line, like, no technology allowed while you're at camp and stuff. So, like, you know, it makes sense to where it kind of gives that 80s feel to this movie without trying too hard. Yeah, but, you know, like, this movie, it didn't feel like a Stranger Things ripoff per se, but it just feels like part of the oversaturation. Like, we don't get a lot of these style movies, but a lot of them are just too similar, I guess you could say, to where it feels like, oh, it's just gonna get forgotten. Like, I'm glad some people are loving it, but just it wasn't by any means a bad movie, I'd say, though.
Yeah, it just wasn't my favorite. Like, I think it isn't a complete film. It's just not my favorite when it comes to, like, it all hinges on one expo dump, and the expo dump just kind of like, okay, like, what was the last, 100 minutes I watched worth, or maybe not 100 minutes, sorry, what was the last hour I watched worth if like it all hinged on this? And that's just a problem in the script. Like if the whole script revolves on that one page turn at, the 65th page or something, like it's not going to work for me. Usually if the journey wasn't worth the journey, if it's only for that twist.
And I forgot also, there's also the twist of like, like what we overall find what's happening. But then there's another twist in the final like 30 seconds of the movie, too. Like I totally forgot that. Oh, yeah. Then the movie ends with that, too. And it turns into like a normal slasher movie. But just like, I would have liked that to keep going then, I guess, to make it more memorable. Like, but yeah, just I think the idea was there. Just the execution wasn't, unfortunately.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. In that last 30 seconds, I mean, I'm not going to say it didn't work for me. It just like, it was super like cheesy when the whole movie is like really trying hard not to be a campy movie. I mean, it takes place at a camp, but it's trying to be like more of a serious movie, I feel like.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, are we completely wrong? Let us know in the comments down below. You can watch the movie through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. That's a great way to help support the show when you watch it, and also let us know what you thought about it in the comments.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead and smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
And speaking of updates, catch all our social media links down below. We got Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, also our own personal letterbox accounts. That's it for this week. Tune in next week for a brand new video.